Our guest today on Torchbearers is Cathy Hyvonen Tribble, class of 1972. Cathy graduated from the College of Nursing here at Valpo and currently serves as a member of the Valparaiso University Alumni Association Board of Directors. Cathy has been a very loyal member of the board, and we are excited to talk to her. So, Cathy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So, Cathy, to get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your Valpo story?
All right. Well, let's see. My Valpo story. I'm going to start. Don't panic because my Valpo story sort of began when I was 5 years old, but I'm going to skip the next 13 years.
All right. Sounds good.
Because we only have so much time, right?
Sure.
But basically, at 5 years old is when I decided I wanted to be a nurse.
Okay.
And so that's why I picked that number. And then add to that my family has a very strong Scandinavian heritage. And because of that, we are very strong in Lutheran heritage.
Sure.
And to the point where Martin Luther was practically a member of the family in absentia.
Sure.
And so take those two components forward to I'm a junior in high school and having to make choices as to where I would go to college. And I knew that I wanted to go to a Lutheran university, and I knew that I wanted to be a nurse, which meant the program had to offer a bachelor's in nursing.
Okay.
At that time, bachelor's in nursing were actually quite rare because most people went to nursing school at a hospital and
Sure.
there. So when I started looking at the combination of Lutheran and bachelor's, Valparaiso came up as a possibility. And basically from there, I was really happy to see that they had a new bachelor's program, and that because of that, I felt like they would be innovative, that they'd be open to listening to students as to what worked or didn't work. And also I was just excited to be on the ground floor of something. And I applied on my beginning of my senior year for an early decision and got in and really never applied anywhere else. So, and then in terms of my story on campus, once you're a nursing major, that pretty much owns your life. You don't have time for much else. And I think that the difference of majors such as that or teaching where you are actually going out and doing the job during your collegiate years, it took up a lot of time. And I would say that most of my time was spent studying and planning for patients that I had to take care of the next day and things along those lines. And, but in the meantime, I made some, just terrific friends and loved every minute of the social life there and of the spiritual life there. And there really was nothing that didn't appeal to me during my years there.
So Cathy, kind of going along that way too, how did your time at Valpo prepare you for your career after Valpo?
Oh, actually, that was excellent. Of course, the thing about nursing is that when you finish and you walk and get your degree handed to you, you're still not a nurse.
Right.
Right. You still have to pass your state board licensing exam.
Mm-hmm.
And in those days, it was in five categories. And before you can call yourself a nurse. So the first thing I was grateful to Valparaiso for is I did pass my boards right away. And was able to finally call myself an RN. And then, of course, you have to start out your job. And I worked at Barnes Hospital in St. Louis, which is a very large, major hospital in the country. And the first thing that happens if you have a bachelor's degree, because that was unusual in those days, you ended up in charge of a team when you'd come to work.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I was barely 22 years old, a new graduate, and would have to be in a leader position right away and be able to know what to do with all the patients. That was extremely frightening.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but that's how they did it then. And but I'm happy to say that I felt like Valparaiso did prepare me to be able to understand how you make decisions, not necessarily what decisions to make, because in nursing, you never know what scenario is going to come up.
Sure.
But I felt very well prepared in terms of how to make a decision. And you have to do it rapidly. You don't have time to spend a week on it. You have maybe 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt very well prepared for that. So academically, I was very happy for what I took away from Valpo. But more importantly, of the things that I felt I took away from Valparaiso in some ways aren't related to my academics. They're related more to that concept that a professor doesn't just teach you. If they're good at what they do, they expand you.
Mm-hmm.
And having come to Valparaiso from Vermont, I came from a town where Burlington was the biggest town in Vermont, probably still is.
Sure.
And we had about 35,000 people in the town, and that was the largest town in Vermont. And so coming to Valparaiso and spending time going into Gary and into Chicago for community health and just taking care of patients of multicultural, multi-backgrounds, education, ages, really allowed me to expand my vision of what the world is and what the day-to-day experiences are of different people and what they bring to the table and what I can learn from them.
Absolutely.
And that I feel was really important. And the other thing Valparaiso gave me is that I still hold to this day is that they taught me that kindness and empathy are strengths. And
Sure.
as much as the world and your day-to-day experiences may try to derail you from that, to stay true to that it can work and it can be a strength. And that was really powerful to me to get that there from other students, from faculty, from the religion department. It was a thread that was all the way across everything that happened and that I experienced there. And I have hung on to that to this day, to just remember that.
Sure. Yeah. I really like that. The oh shoot, what was I going to say? How was I going to say that? The whole concept of the, how to take care of your patients and the
Yes.
all of that, because I think a couple of my friends have really said the whole, the real benefit of the liberal arts colleges, they teach you how to think, not necessarily what to think, but they teach you
Right.
how. And I, just with talking to you there, it really sounds like Valpo was a big part of that for you. And I know it was for me, as compared to some other schools. So that's great.
Yes, yeah, definitely was the critical piece that I hung on to when I
Yeah,
got out.
definitely. And that's one of those things that definitely I think serves you all the way through life. Just
Yeah,
from college there through now and in the future. So
right. I found I applied the same process to just day-to-day things.
sure,
And it was really a gift to come away with that of how to look at it and make a decision.
absolutely. So thinking back a couple of years now, as you're preparing to roll off the VUAA board of
Oh, I know.
directors, so why did you say yes to serving on the board when you were first asked?
Well, first of all, a good friend that I respect, Don Lewis, asked me, and
Okay,
respecting our friendship, yes, of course.
sure.
Um,
Good old Don.
but yeah, of course. But then also something that I think every board member would say is that they wanted to give back to an institution that had given them so much.
Mm-hmm.
And in my case, I came away from Valpo with both my career and the person that I married.
Well, there you go.
I know, one-stop shopping.
Hey, there.
And so obviously Valparaiso has a lot of meaning to me, and I was more than happy to be able to return to campus and be able to give back through work and time the things that I felt that I had taken away from there. But secondly, and more personally maybe, a story that I can share is when our children were younger, and I think our youngest child was just beginning middle school, and we brought them back to campus to homecoming as part of our strategy of propaganda to go to Valparaiso.
Sure.
And our younger daughter came back from there and had to write a paper for English, and she wrote it about that trip to Valparaiso. And one thing that she talked about at the time we came back, probably your department had placed all over campus, hanging from lampposts and things like that, signs that said welcome home.
Mm-hmm.
And she wrote a paper about that, of what that means when you hear and see welcome home. What does that signify to you or mean to you?
Sure.
And how those are powerful words. The word home is powerful. And that, for a personal, from a personal point of view, is part of why I wanted to be a part of the alumni board, because I wanted those opportunities to come back home.
Sure.
And have, I'm happy to say it felt like coming home, coming there.
Great. We're so glad that you feel like you're coming home whenever you come back to Valpo.
Yes, yeah, we love to come there.
And hopefully we'll get you back next year when hopefully we're able to do homecoming in person again and
yes.
Do all of that kind of stuff. So
we'll definitely come whenever you open the door. We'll come.
Right, there we go. Good, good. So what has been the best part of serving on the VUAA board?
The best part. Well, I think the best part is it's always the people. And when I mentioned about Valparaiso giving that strength to remain kind and empathetic, the thing that I loved about the alumni board is they all took away that same thing. And to come back and see across the generations and across the majors and across the areas of the country, everybody has that same thread, that kindness and empathy as a strength. And to be able to work with a group like that, where that's the underlying building block, is fun, it's constructive, it gets things done, and is a joy basically to participate in with folks like that.
Fantastic. So Cathy, is there anything else that you want to share with us before we go our separate ways for today as we continue to hear from you on the podcast?
Not particularly that I can think of, other than to say that I've always been proud to be a graduate of Valparaiso. It has always served me well, and I think many people refer to Valparaiso as shaping them. And I would say the same for myself, that it shapes who you are. It isn't just about academics and learning your major. It really is far beyond that.
Well, great. Well, Cathy, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us and participate in our podcast. And we will look forward to hearing from you in the future.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. I'm glad to get to talk to you.
Thank you again to Cathy for being a guest on Torchbearers.